Hey everyone, and welcome to session 2 of the Perfect Pricing Workshop. And I realized I was wearing a sweater. I was taking it off, tried to get it in before the live video. Just like yesterday, during the session 1 of the Perfect Pricing virtual workshop, when we were talking about pricing, everything seemed to go wrong, right? Like my little light went out, my daughter came downstairs, the background was all messy, the internet went out, and now I'm starting session 2 in the same way. And I think this is a great, actually, coincidence, because this has been on my mind ever since that was happening, because I said several times during the training yesterday, oh, Murphy's Law, Murphy's Law. And if you don't know, Murphy's Law is anything that can go wrong will go wrong. So you're supposed to plan for things going wrong. And I have a slightly different mantra or version of that law. And I wasn't planning on sharing this. In fact, this wasn't something I was going to share publicly ever. But I have my own version that I call Craig's Law. And it is everything that can go right will go right. And I try to live my life by that. And I think this is a cool concept for right now, because business is a series of problems, right? Like, you can't avoid problems. Life, too. It's a series of problems. Problems are going to happen. You can't avoid them. So instead of trying to avoid problems, you have to learn how to solve problems, right? Because it's just a series of problems, one after the other. And if you can start looking at when things go wrong, instead of saying, oh man, I can't believe things go wrong, you start looking at it as everything that happens is a blessing for you to learn, or a blessing for you to move forward. And I'm not even talking religiously. I'm using the word blessing, so maybe that conjures up some thoughts for you. But really what we're talking about is, if you can look at everything that happens is to your benefit, then business will start moving forward a lot more smoothly. You're going to have a better time. First of all, you're going to feel better, but business is going to happen a lot more smoothly, because guess what? Problems are unavoidable. The lights are going to go out. The kids are going to come downstairs. You're going to be wearing the sweater your wife told you not to wear because it doesn't match. That's what happened at the beginning of this video. If you missed it, I was struggling to get it off. I pushed the live button and then I was like, I'm still wearing it. So anyway, so that was a little aside. See, it's a blessing that things went wrong, because now we get to talk about what to do when things go wrong. That wasn't part of the program, but we're using it as a benefit here, right? Like, there's a problem, we're going to face it, we're going to fix it, and it's going to make us better in the long run. Okay, so yesterday we talked all about pricing. We talked about how pricing has a lot less to do with your competition and a lot more to do with your goals, and a lot more to do with the value you provide. And I even gave you a way to set your prices. I gave you a little mathematical formula to set your prices. So if you didn't go through that, I would really encourage you, go back, watch the other video. I'll be sending out an email afterwards with links to stuff as well. But in the description, there's also links to those videos, right? There was the one yesterday, and then we actually have another video. It's not really part of the virtual workshop, but it was why you don't have clients and how you can avoid it, that we did last week. It was kind of like a preview or a pre-workshop video, and that one's really good too. It goes over the basics for business. Today, though, we're going to talk about, and I'm looking at my notes, so if you see my eyes wander over here, that's what I'm doing. I just want to make sure, there's so much to talk about, I want to make sure we get to it all. Today we're going to dive into sales, and we're going to help you with the following things. We're going to help you overcome awkward sales conversations. So if sales feels slimy, sleazy, awkward, uncomfortable, any negative word that you can put in there, if that's the way sales feels to you, we're going to solve that today. We're going to overcome that today. I'm going to give you the pathway and the formula to overcome that. We're going to help you stop spending so long on proposals. In fact, I'm going to help you get rid of the proposal altogether. There is a place for proposals, and we're not really going to get into when you should use a proposal today. But for the rule of thumb, for most people, you don't need a proposal. In fact, you can land the client in one phone call or one meeting. You don't need to do a proposal. And that goes back to our training yesterday, is when you're selling packages, you're packaging your services, and you've got a price for it, it's a lot easier to sell. So this kind of plays into each other. They build on each other. And then the last thing is I want you to stop dealing with unmotivated prospects, right? So I'm going to teach you how you can really build that anticipation or build that desire for your services inside of your sales process so that clients are motivated to purchase. And this is especially important if you're doing something. I mean, most people watching this probably do some sort of marketing, PR, social media, some sort of service-based business. And this is particularly important for you. And if we go even deeper than that, if you're trying to sell some sort of strategy, it's really hard to get people motivated for that because it doesn't feel like there's urgency around it. But guess what? You can build that in to your sales process and make life a whole lot easier. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And this is really important stuff because do you remember yesterday we talked about 8 out of 10 businesses fail in the first 18 months, right? Really and that's according to Forbes. That's not according to me. That's according to Forbes. And it's a really staggering number, and it's really sobering. And the reason why those businesses fail, and this is my opinion, is that they don't have the proper, they don't. So let's work backwards from what we're working in this workshop. They don't have the leads, right? They're not doing marketing to get leads. And then when they get those leads, they don't have a sales process to walk those leads through. And then in the sales process, they don't have a price point or a package, a really compelling offer to make to those people. And if you don't have those things in place in your business, guess what? You're going to really struggle to get clients. So it's no wonder that businesses fail because there's another stat, and I don't know, I can't quote this one, but it's something like 70 or 80% of small businesses don't have consistent leads. And we're getting into a conversation that we're going to have tomorrow when we talk about marketing. But seriously, if you don't have consistent leads, how are you going to have consistent clients, right? And part of the problem is your sales process. If you don't know what you're doing in your sales process, you're going to have a hard time generating leads, right? And again, looking at my notes here, I really don't want to miss anything. And sales in particular is one of those pieces that lots of people miss. In fact, in my work, I work with entrepreneurs who want to build their business, and 9 out of 10 people that I work with don't have a sales process. They don't know what they're doing for their sales. So that's a problem, and that's what we're going to solve today. And I really have a soft spot in my heart for this because when I first started my business, I didn't have a sales process. I didn't know I needed a sales process. I didn't even know what to do, and it was really interesting because I was coming out of a job where I was the director of communications for this large nonprofit. I had raised donations by $100,000 per year each of the 3 years that I was there. So by year 3, the organization was making $300,000 more per year because of my efforts. And so I went into consulting and I was like, I got this. I can do this. I know how to do this. And I fell flat on my face. And I thought, hey, I know marketing. It must not be my marketing. And so I started taking a really hard look, and I realized that my sales process was broken. I didn't know what to do. If I got someone to say, hey, I want to learn more, I would get them into a conversation, and I'd get really excited about their potential. I'd get really excited about the possibilities, but I couldn't close them. And I didn't know how to close them. And I didn't know how to present my services. And when it was time to talk about my prices, I would stutter, I would fall, there was no confidence at all. And so the result was I wasn't landing clients. So taking a look at it, what I started to do was the few clients I did get, I realized they came from one-on-one sales conversations. So I thought, this is the way to go. I got to base everything around a strategic consultation or a sales conversation. And I started basing my sales around that. And what's interesting is when I started doing that, I noticed that my marketing actually wasn't as good as I thought it was. Because every single marketing thing I was doing was pointing to a different call to action. Sometimes it was sign up for this email list. Sometimes it was go to the sales page. Sometimes it was let's get on the phone. It was all these different calls to action, and I didn't go deep enough with any of them to get any real traction. So when I started basing everything around a strategic consultation, suddenly all of my marketing started to get a little bit more clear. It had a little bit more weight to it, and it started to get more leads in the door. And then what I found by really focusing and owning my consultation was that it got, it became something that was repeatable. Like I actually have a script that I can use, and I teach people how to use this script for their sales. So it's something repeatable, something measurable. It was something valuable. It was valuable for them because they were getting real value in this consultation. And it was valuable for me because I had the opportunity to land a client, and I was landing a good majority of those clients. And it was easy and it was fun. So when it came down to it, like the strategic consultation really was the way to go. And that is the solution that I want to bring to you today. Is I want you to base everything around a strategic consultation. And that's what we're going to talk about. And before we do that, I just want to remind you what's coming up. So tomorrow we'll be talking about marketing. So we're going to really pour fuel on the fire, put some gasoline on the fire, because now that you have your prices, your packages put together, and after today, you're going to have your sales process put together. Tomorrow, I want you to actually start generating some leads so that they can start going through that process and you can start making sales, right? So we're going to pour gasoline on the fire. And then on Friday, we're going to bring it all together, because all of this is theory. Until you start implementing, this is just theory. So on Friday, on our final session, we're going to talk about the key mindsets and actions you have to take as the CEO of your company in order to get this really cohesive, moving together and working for you. And that's also when we're going to make the offer for the Core 4 courses. Talked about that last video. I'm really excited about this. I was working on the offer again last night. I was looking at all the stuff that I'm going to be offering you, and I just was looking at it, and I was really grateful for a couple things. First, I was like, man, this is a lot of content, and it's going to do a lot of good. And second, I was thinking about the potential it had to change your life and your business, and I got really excited. So hopefully you're as excited as I am, because on Friday we'll be opening the cart. We'll be opening registration for what I call the Core 4 training courses, and they're courses on mindset, marketing, sales, and pricing. And the pricing includes scaling too. So we'll talk more about that later, but keep your eyes open for that, because I'm really excited for it. Okay. So really there's two things that we want to overcome today. So all the stuff we mentioned, I think we can boil down to two problems. The first is awkward sales conversations, feeling awkward. And the second is sales that take forever, right? People that either don't get back to you right away, like it takes them weeks or months to get back to you, or you never hear back from them at all. We're going to overcome both of those issues. Especially that overcoming how long it takes. I would rather hear no right away than wait 6 months for that no. Wouldn't you? Because if you know that the person's going to say no, then you can just move on and you can go get someone who's going to say yes, right? Versus if they're hemming and hawing, they're not sure, they're going back and forth, you're waiting in limbo for 6 months, you're kind of saving that space for them. It's tough. So we're going to cut that out, completely get rid of it. And here's what we're going to do. So we're basing everything around a sales consultation. And really, when it comes to sales, you have two choices. You can either have the strategic consultation like we're going to talk about today, or you can have a sales page. And both of them are valid, but both of them are good for different phases in your business. So for a sales page is really good for anyone who has a large volume of people visiting their website. Like if you've got something for sale on Amazon, right? Like a product on Amazon, Amazon's got tons of people coming to that site just to purchase. So either you're selling something on Amazon or eBay or on your own website, but you have a lot of traffic, a sales page is good for you. A sales page would be good for you if you've got a really low priced offer. Like we're talking $10 to $100, maybe $200 or $300. Sales page is really good for you. And then a sales page is going to be really good for you if you've got really, really good marketing. Like if you're doing some sort of launch or you're doing a webinar or doing something like that where you can drive them to a sales page, then you can have a little bit higher of a price and the sales page will still convert for you. But for the majority of you watching, for the majority of people with services, and for the majority of your packages that we created last time, a consultation is going to be the way to go. And the reason why is because something we didn't talk about yesterday is price is determined by supply and demand. And really there's two places for you to create demand for your services. In your marketing is one place, right? If you're really good at your marketing, you've got really good brand awareness, your price can go up. You know, like Disney can charge more money for you to go to Disneyland than Joe Schmo's park in St. Louis, Missouri, right? Like Disney carries a little bit more weight. You'd expect the price to be a little bit more. But the second place you can create demand is in your sales process. A web page or a sales page, it's possible to build demand, but it takes a lot of practice, takes a lot of trial and error, and it's kind of tough to get that to really create demand for you. Versus in a consultation, when you get somebody in a one-on-one scenario and you do the stuff we're going to talk about, you can really increase their personal demand to work with you. And then that allows you to raise your prices and actually charge something that's going to make you feel good, you know, make you feel excited, and is also going to be profitable. So the consultation is probably the best choice for you until you get to a point where you're able to spend a lot of money in generating traffic, or if you introduce a new product that's smaller. But for most people, consultation, I mean, and this business model could take you to 6 or 7 figures. Like if you're selling a package worth $10,000, right? 10 people, you've got six figures, right? And again, from yesterday, we talked about how $10,000 on a monthly basis is only $834. So a retainer package of $834 divided among 10 people, 6 figures right there. So the consultation is perfect for that type of service, that type of sales. So what we're really talking about here is just simply having a directed conversation. So what does a consultation look like? It's a directed conversation, either on the phone or in person, where you walk them through 3 things. Where they are right now, what's the current situation, where they want to go, that's number 2, what's the goal or what's the vision, and then number 3, what's stopping them from getting what they want. You're going to walk them through those 3 things. So the reason we do this is because that method, or that procedure, I guess is the word, right? That method of going through those 3 steps starts to expose what we call the gap. And this is actually the gap method. And what the gap is it's that distance between what you want and where you're at. And once you expose that need, then your job to make the sale is simply to offer your services as the gap fill, right? So weight loss always is a good example, just because everyone can relate to it. I know most of you are not doing weight loss stuff, but you know, translate this into your own service. So weight loss, okay, so where are you at right now? Well, I feel overweight, I feel fat. Okay, great, that's where you're at. Where do you want to be? I want to feel great, I want a 6-pack. Great, what's holding you back? I can't get motivated, I can't exercise, I don't know what to do. Okay, great. Now me as the client talking about this, I feel this real energy, or this real desire to get this done because I feel awful. But looking at what I want, that's going to feel really good. And now I've realized what it is that needs to be done to get me where I want to go. So as the person selling, all you have to do is come in and show them the pathway to getting what they want. So you can say, well, great. Okay, so you want to feel great and you want a 6-pack. I've got a 6-month program that'll help you lose that weight and help you get that 6-pack. Do you mind if I tell it to you? Let me show you how this works. And if you do these things, you'll get that result. Okay, cool. So, in that example, I realized a couple things. One, notice it's no longer, the conversation is not about, hey, do you want to work with me as your practitioner? Like, these are my credentials. This is how cool I am. Work with me, work with me, work with me. It's not about you as the practitioner. Now we've changed the conversation so that it's all about getting that result and showing them the pathway to get the result that they're after. And then the second thing is, by going through this process, you're really leading with value because you're allowing them to express themselves. You're allowing them to talk about what they want before you make an offer, so that they feel like what you're offering is exactly what they need because you took the time to find out what it was they need in the first place. And this actually reminds me, this is an actual experience I had from it was 2 years ago maybe. And I was actually in this exact situation. I was looking for a personal trainer because I felt out of shape. I wanted a personal trainer to help me lose weight. And I felt like as a CEO, I was just overwhelmed with work and I was really neglecting myself. So I was like, hey, I got to find somebody. A friend of mine from high school had actually become a personal and very successful trainer here in the St. Louis area. And so I went to his gym. They gave me a free trial. Awesome. Great marketing, right? I'm hooked in. And they set up a sales consultation. And this is me, working on this stuff. I'm like, oh man, he's doing this so well. Like, this is so smart. Their marketing's on point. They got me in for a free trial. Now they're going to close the deal. They're going to get me in this meeting. And the money was burning a hole in my pocket. Like, I was ready to purchase. Like, I wanted this and I knew what was happening. I was enjoying the process. And I got in this meeting, and it wasn't with my friend. It was with one of his trainers. He had grown enough that he'd hired someone else to do his sales. And the person was like, he spent 45 minutes talking about exercises he enjoyed, what he liked about working at the gym, but never once did he ask me about what I wanted, and never once did he make an offer for me to join the gym. And at the end of the sales process, or this meeting, he stood up really abruptly out of nowhere. It's like, okay, well, if you got any questions, let me know. We'll talk to you later. And kicked me out of the gym. I had the money burning a hole in my pocket. I wanted to join. I wanted to purchase. I wanted what they were offering me, but they didn't, or what they were selling, but they didn't make an offer. He didn't show me the path to what I want. He didn't tell me this is the, here's the structure, here's the package, and if you do these things, you'll get what you want. And he didn't say, hey, let's close the deal. Let's sign the paper. Let's get the money in the bank. And if he had done that, I would have purchased. 2 days later, on LinkedIn, a guy messages me, says, hey, Craig, I work with CEOs who are feeling like they're not fit, and I just want to introduce myself. We started talking. I hired him for almost 4 times more money because he showed me the pathway to what I wanted. He worked with people just like me, and he had a proven system for getting it. And he was like, here you go. Here's the package. Do you want to purchase? So compare those two things. I spent like 4 times more money with this second person because they listened to what I wanted, and then they made a clear offer for getting what I want. So if you're wondering, how do these people beat me out? They charge so much more money, yet they keep landing the clients from underneath me. This is how they're doing it. They're simply asking questions, listening to their clients, discovering what that gap is, and then showing them the pathway to get what they want. And then, listen, there's a whole bunch of, all of this stuff comes from my training, Conversations That Sell, which is a comprehensive sales training. It's over 8 hours of material. It's super comprehensive. So like, we could talk about tips and tricks and ways of wording the close, but listen, this is how simple it is. When you get really good at exposing that gap and showing them the pathway to what they want, all you have to say is, do you want help with that? They'll say, yeah, I want help with that. You say, okay, here's what I can do for you. And then you show them your package. You say, let's get started. That's how easy sales can be. Now, of course, it doesn't have to be that word for word. Like, there's other stuff you can do. Like, I've got a whole script I could give you of like, here's how you work this process. But in very simple terms, that's how you do your sales, right? Where are you at? Where do you want to be? What is stopping you? What is the gap in between those 2 points? Let me show you the pathway. Let me fill that gap so that you get what you want. Bam. You'll start landing clients. You'll start landing clients quickly. And here's the thing. So the title of this session is sales to land 9 out of 10 clients, or something along those lines. And I firmly believe that you can get to that point where you're landing 9 out of 10 clients. And the reason why is because once you start doing this, like imagine if you had a script, if you had a step-by-step process for doing this, well, now you can start practicing it. And suddenly you can start getting better at it. And then your marketing, all you have to do is start filling in your funnel with leads, and you know what you need to do to land those clients, right? And as you get better at it, as you get more confident with it, you'll be able to land more and more clients. But even without that, even without the training, just knowing this method and then going out to try it, I see most people land about 30% of their clients. So 3 out of 10 consultations without any training, you just go do this method, you'll start seeing those types of results. And here's a perfect example. I have a client who we met and we talked about this and learned that, we met in person, we talked about this process, we talked about doing this, and she just happened to have a meeting set up with a potential client that night. So she took what we learned, she didn't practice it at all, she went straight over to that meeting, landed the client. Landed the client for more money than she had ever landed any other client before. Like, this is the most money she'd ever made, and did it in one night. Like batting 100% there, right? Like she didn't stay at 100%, but batting 100%. And that's how quick this can happen for you, because it's valuable, right? Like, we're not being pushy. We're actually being concerned with the person in front of us, and we're tailoring things to their needs. And we're not changing our package. We're not changing our service to meet, we're just taking the time to really learn what they want before we make the offer. And imagine if you were landing 9 out of 10 clients, and that 10th person didn't work with you, not because they didn't want to, but because it just wasn't a good fit, right? So you decided, you chose, you didn't want to work with them. Like, that's what having this consultation can do for you. You can build a waiting list of people because you get so good at enrolling them and showing them the pathway to get what they want, right? And that's how you get rid of bad clients, by the way, right? You get really good at sales, and then you get to a point where you're like, you don't need to take on anyone who's not a good fit. And I find most people get really comfortable when they're at, a 90%, 9 out of 10 clients landed out of 10 consultations. That's really good. But most people get comfortable around 70 or 80%. And the reason why is because then that gives you that 20, 30% who aren't a good fit, or maybe you're at capacity and you don't want to take any more people on. That gives you that wiggle room so that you don't have to take those people on, right? And from our last session, we talked about building a price point that actually is profitable. If you're landing 7 out of 10 clients and you're having, let's say you start landing 2 or 3 clients a month, well, 3 or 4 months down the line, you're going to be all booked up. You're going to be making 6 figures or more, or you're going to add 6 figures to your business, and life is going to be so much better. Okay, great. If you got questions or comments, put them down. I'd love to answer them. So feel free to participate live here. Let's talk really quick about landing the client right away. So the proposal, right? Like, proposals are good, but my rule of thumb is that I only use a proposal for really high-priced, high-ticket items. So if I was doing something that was like $10,000 over the course of like 3 months, right? Like, we're talking like $3,000 to $6,000 per month, like that sort of range, or higher, right? Like, maybe it's a $20,000 or $30,000 or $50,000 program, right? Like, if we're talking really big numbers, I think then a proposal is really handy, because those types of numbers, the people are going to want to think about it a little more. We need to slow the sales process down a little bit. And using a proposal is a little bit outside the scope of what I want to talk about today. If you've got questions about it, happy to answer them. Put them in the comments. Put a comment on the Sweet Spot page. Happy to talk about it. But most people don't need to use a proposal. You can land a client in one phone call. And this is how you do it. You close the deal. So a couple of really practical tips. First of all, you need to be comfortable asking for the sale. So go to a mirror, or get in front of a camera, or go to a spouse or a friend and practice like 10, 20 times saying your price out loud and making a direct question, direct ask, will you purchase this, right? So you can just, practice presenting your package, right? So this package costs $5,000. Well, actually, I would never use the term cost, right? Nothing costs anything. It's all an investment. Just a much better framing of the words. So this package is an investment of $5,000. And it takes place over the course of 6 months. Are you ready to get started? Yeah. Will you join this program? Practice those words over and over again so that when it comes time for you to actually say it in a consultation, you don't fumble. It doesn't like get stuck in your throat because you've never said the words $5,000 before out loud, and so it's getting stuck in your throat because you're kind of nervous about it. You got to get used to getting that number out there. And here's the funny thing. What's the stretch number for you? What's that number? Like, if you could charge that number, man, that would be crazy good. I guarantee you that once you get that number, you'll realize that it's too small. Seriously. Like, you'll start saying, hey, I could actually charge more money and I could get more if I start asking more directly for what I want. Okay, so that's tip number 1, practice. The next thing is you just actually have to collect the credit card or the card right there. Make the payment, close the deal right there. Don't put it off for later. And a great question that I like to use is this one right here. Like, so you've said the pathway, you've showed them how they can get what they want. Now you're ready to close the deal. You say, hey, do you have any questions about this? They're like, no, it sounds great. It sounds like exactly what I need. Here's the question I like to ask. Is there anything that would stop you from joining this program or purchasing this package, or however you phrase it in your business, right? Is there anything that would stop you from purchasing this package right now? And what's great about that question is two things. One is it opens them up to honestly express objections to you. Like, maybe there's something holding them back and you need to talk about it. But 2, it also frames them up if they're like, no, I can't think of a single thing, then that makes it really easy for you to say, great, when should we get started? Let's get your credit card. Let's take the payment right now. Here's the invoice. Or let me grab your credit card number right now and I'll charge it this afternoon. We'll get started tomorrow, or we'll get started next week. Like, you can actually set the date in motion. And now, instead of waiting for 6 months to even hear back, you're getting paid in the moment and you're getting started right away. Right when they're most excited to hire you, you're getting started right away. Right? And if they say something like, oh, well, I got to think about it, that's an excuse. Some people, really do want to think about it, but I would say something like, okay, well, what do you have to think about, right? I'd push them a little bit, because your job, they are never going to be as motivated to purchase your services as they are in that moment in the consultation when they've exposed the gap, they've experienced what it feels like to see your vision of what is possible for them. They will never be more motivated to purchase than in that moment. And it is your responsibility as the service provider, as someone who can literally change their business, do something awesome for them, to close that deal, because that is in their best interest. And when you truly internalize and believe that your service is going to help them, and it is the best choice to get the result that they're looking for, then you, from a place of confidence and power, can make that offer and close that deal. Now, if you are doing something sleazy, like your stuff doesn't work, then you're going to have a problem with this. So you've got to be, you've got to stand in integrity. But I'm talking about someone who purposefully is pulling the wool over people's eyes, someone who's purposefully manipulating, versus like, if you just feel a little nervous, like, I don't know, is my stuff good enough? Okay, that's just fear. That's just fear. Yes, your stuff is good enough. And yes, this is the best option. And yes, you need to close the deal. But if you're intentionally a criminal, then maybe you'll struggle with this. Okay, so that is all the stuff I wanted to talk about today on your sales process. And there's a lot there. And this is seriously the stuff that you need to do to take your business to where you want it to be. Like, this is seriously is stuff that I typically charge for. Like the Conversations That Sell program, like I said, is over 8 hours of sales content. I gave you the core. I gave you like the most valuable stuff out of it. Like, there's still a lot more. There's still scripts and how-to stuff and more surrounding how to get in the consultation, how to follow up. Like, there's more than that. But I gave you the core stuff. And if you put this in practice, you will start landing more clients, right? So really, two things, if we were to summarize it up, use the GAP method. Actually, I'm going to say three things. Use the GAP method, show them the pathway to getting what they want via your package, and then close the deal. Make the sale. Close it right there on the spot. Don't wait. And by doing that, you're going to become more confident. You're going to become more comfortable. And you're going to start making more money more quickly. Okay, so now that, let me just give you an update what's going on tomorrow, right? So now that you know what you're selling and you know how you're going to sell it, right? You know your sales process. We're going to start driving some leads to your door. So tomorrow we're going to talk about marketing. And in particular, we're going to talk about your results-oriented marketing message, which is the foundation to your business. This, I would argue, is the most important piece of your business, the results-oriented marketing message. Everything else, if you don't have this right, your business won't survive. It won't work. It won't function. This is the key or the string that ties everything together. And I'm going to give you a fill-in-the-blank formula tomorrow to create your results-oriented marketing message. This is so valuable. This is stuff that you would go pay thousands of dollars for at a seminar, and you still wouldn't get as good of material as we are explaining to you in these videos. So I hope that you're taking advantage of it. Put it in practice. Start making these changes in your business, and you will start seeing results. So tomorrow's going to be good for you if you've ever asked yourself one of these questions or had one of these thoughts. One, how should I even market, right? What should I do? What should my marketing even be? We're going to talk about that. Number two is I don't have enough leads. Have you ever had that thought? I don't have enough leads. We're going to talk about how you can start getting those leads in the door month after month. Get that consistency. Number three, my leads suck. I've got leads, but they're the worst. I hate them. Okay, we're going to talk about quality over quantity. And actually what we want is quality and quantity. Number four here, I can't get the right people to pay attention. My people just aren't paying attention. We're going to fix that. And number five, I hate blank marketing tactic. I hate networking. I hate speaking. I hate social media. I'm going to talk to you about what to do if you hate certain marketing tactics. Because guess what? You can make it work. Okay, so those are the things we're going to talk about tomorrow. Make sure you post your questions and your comments here on the Sweet Spot. If you're watching a replay somewhere else, not on Facebook, and you want to join us live for these presentations, you just have to join the Sweet Spot. It's a free group on Facebook. And when you get that, you get access to exclusive content we do every month. And you also can join us for the next 2 sessions live. The link will be in the description of the video. So I really do want to encourage you guys, attend live. We had lots of people here today. I'd love to see you. Leave comments. Talk to me about what you're doing, what you're learning, what you're implementing. And I want to be a part of that community with you. Okay, so we'll talk to you tomorrow. See ya.